Oh, and that's how we get it done right there. What's good, everybody? Welcome into The Last Word. We are live, and he is Big Tommy C. I am the coach. We got my man, Danny Boy, behind the scenes. Producer man is on vacation. So, Tommy, you're going to have to give me a little grace tonight because I'm producing, and I'm the greatest talent host in the world. So you got to give me a little grace. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good with that, Coach.
You know what's nice is that now we can actually do the show before your bedtime. Now that it's
Yes.
an hour earlier. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
Before my warm milk. It's great.
Well, we were talking to Danny Boy, our intern, beforehand. You guys will meet him someday. He loves to talk, but he's not quite ready for the last word yet. Not quite ready for that. But I'm telling you right now, Tommy, having a 2-hour Raw, tonight was the first one, is really, really nice. I got to get over into the chat. Where there is the chat. Okay. By the way, when you guys come in, my man Raphael's in the chat. Hit that like button for us. It really helps the show grow. But, Tommy, we've been talking about this for months. A 2-hour Raw just has a completely different feel to it than a 3-hour Raw. Tonight's first one. Can we please keep it there?
Yes, I totally agree. I think the flow was nice tonight. They had a little technical hiccups tonight with a couple of things, which I've noticed at the pay-per-view. Also at Bad Blood, there was a lot of production issues I saw. And I don't know. Somebody must have got reamed there, boy. But tonight had a little tech. And but I thought it moved. And by the way, the last match, I thought Gunther and Sammy told a nice little story in the match. I thought it was going to be boring. I swear to God, but we shoot here, and I thought it was a very good match.
I hate to agree with you, but if we're going to have credibility and we're going to be honest, then we got to be honest. And it was not as boring as I thought it. I don't even want to use the word boring. I thought it was entertaining. I would go so far. I would go so far. So, but Gunther remains the World Heavyweight Champion. He will now go to Crown Jewel, and they broke all the rules tonight. By the way, if you have any questions, by the way, Tommy, I'm trying to do 4 things at once here. All right, now I'm into the chat. What up to everybody? If you guys have any questions for us, put them into the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can. So, Tommy, you know all the rules where a SmackDown guy cannot show up for a Raw show, and all of a sudden, there's Cody Rhodes, and he does an interview, and they ask him a question, and he deflects. He says, Hey, I'll answer that on Friday. I'm just here tonight to figure out what it looks like to be a Crown Jewel champion. That's all we get. And then he comes out for the last 5 seconds of the show. That's all we get.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
Because they don't know what they're doing on Friday yet until the final boss says so.
That's probably very true. That's probably very true. Tara says, I really enjoyed it. Rich said, I enjoyed the 2 hours for sure, but I still like the 3-hour format. Rich, I hate the 3-hour format. And maybe just because I was there for a really long time and did 3 hours. And I'm telling you right now, backstage, everybody hates it. The boys don't like it.
Nope.
The crew damn sure doesn't like it.
Nope.
And there's always this misconception that because, you wait a whole week or you had to travel a long way, you can still give them another hour of wrestling without it being on TV. We used to do that all the time.
Yep.
Right? You had 3 or 4 dark matches, right, Tommy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. It's no big deal. All right. So if you're just tuning in for the last word for the first time, thank you. This is part of the BTT universe. As always, we are presented by MyBookie.ag. And we're trying to change the game. So we need you to use that promo code BTT. We're going to give you a deposit bonus for first-time customers up to $1,000. 100%. You put in $1,000, we're going to give you $1,000. And then, Tommy, and they are the only sportsbook smart enough to listen to me. Because everybody's always worried about acquisitions. And, yes, we want to sign people up. But what we're going to do here on BTT over the course of the next month, 2 months, it's going to change the game. We're going to play together. And we're going to have rewards for playing together. But we got to get people signed up first. That's what we got to do. So use that promo code BTT. All right, Tommy, a lot of good things I thought tonight on Raw. Some things that were like, it was what it was. What do you make CM Punk right at the beginning of the show, comes out all beat up? I mean, those things were a shoot. I mean, he had all the cuts all over him. But I liked how they did that. And clearly it's because of the rush of the show. You had CM Punk. Then here comes Seth Rollins, and then here comes Jey Uso, all in one segment. What did you make of how they did that?
I thought it's consecutive. It works. You hear CM Punk say, "Look, I'm hurt. I don't know what's going to happen next for me." All of a sudden, he's getting ready to leave. Here comes Seth Rollins. A little stare down. Could there be a little angle going them soon? He bumps Punk, which I like. He gave him that little bump there, and he made his way to the ring. He cut a promo, and he went right into the camera and said, "Bronson Reed, it's going to be me and you, dude." So it looks like that's going to be the next storyline for Seth Rollins in the immediate future.
It's funny because he's still so over like Rover. You know, they chant to his music, they sing his music. But when you're calling out a guy that is not over yet, it just seemed kind of when he got into the camera, and I know what they were trying to do, but then when he said, and Bronson Reed, it was like, And they've done everything, Tommy. The cars, the splashes, all of it, but he's just not quite there yet, and he can't talk either. So it's hard to believe in Bronson Reed yet from a character standpoint.
He can't talk, and it's going to be very hard for Seth Rollins to work with him because he's not up to speed where Seth is and working in the ring, and I don't think it's going to be pretty at all. I hope it doesn't last long, really.
Well, if it doesn't last long, then Seth has got to go over. You can't squash him, Tommy.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I mean, here's the problem, Coach. You've been building Reed up to here, right? And he lays out Braun, right? And now Seth is back, and you can't friggin' bury Seth. I mean, they need Seth more than anything right now, right?
Oh
so
my God.
You cannot bury Seth in this, but you hurt Reed when you do that. And I would take that chance any day of the week, by the way. Reed can come back at any time.
Well, you've got to, when you're trying to build somebody, and the only way you can really build somebody into a star is to give them the rub from another star. So you have to do this, but the crowd has to give them time to do this. And hopefully they do. But to your point on the other part, they desperately need it. I saw somebody either on Twitter or in the chat here that said, can we stop with the brand split? Can we just have guys on both shows? You know, it shouldn't be such a big deal for Cody to show up to Monday Night Raw. I mean, both shows are making, $1 billion. We got to have the stars everywhere.
Yep. I totally agree on that. I think somebody should be a rebel. I think it should be Seth Rollins going over to SmackDown and challenging anybody over there. I'm open, dude. I want to work. I want the championship. I don't care if it's Roman, if it's Cody's championship. I don't care if it's Gunther. I'm here to kick ass. They should have a guy like that and just be unpredictable and go from SmackDown to Raw, and you don't know when he's going to friggin' show up. That keeps you anticipating, saying, okay, here we go, man. Shit's on right now. And now you get that shit rolling.
I agree. Real quick, the chat is starting to inspire me. So we were having, we just launched our premium membership a few weeks ago, and we're going to be doing watch-alongs, but we're going to start doing more of these every probably 3 or 4 days a week. We also want to do live Q&As because so many have so many questions that you just want to know about. So we're going to start doing those as well. So we're going to ramp it up. We're just trying to keep things off of producer, man. So, Tommy, if you don't mind, let's go to a couple of questions in the chat and just kind of go all over the place. So let's start with Rich. And he says, what do you guys think about the women's tag match? I felt like the match was at a good pace and not boring. It was a good way to get the women on TV. Well, I mean, it was 10 women, and it was all over the place. It was a good pace, but I thought it was kind of a shit show, to be honest with you, Tommy. I really did.
PFC, Unholy Union, Natalia in her cowboy hat. Here's what I'm going to tell you, Rich. I don't care. And I don't think anybody else cares. I'm sorry. I hate to say that. I have no feeling into these matches at all. They don't mean shit to me. So why you do it? Because you got to fill time and you got to put women on. And I get all that. But there's got to be some sort of meaning to all this, Coach. You have 6-man, 4-man tags, and all these different women coming in, like Natalia with Vega and the other girl with the thing on her face, and PFC and Ununion Holy, and I don't get it. I mean, when you're writing, it has to make sense.
But Tommy, they only had 2 hours. They did not have 3 hours to make 2 or 3 matches.
I get it. Yep.
And this was the criticism at Bad Blood. They put 2 of the 5 matches were women's matches. And now Triple H is so stuck on this 5-match pay-per-view, which I love. But then when you have a storyline, they feel like they have to pay it off. And I'm so tired of they deserve it. Like they deserve the time. No, this is a competition. It's the best stories. And whether it's the women or the men, if it's 4 women's matches, great. Whatever the best stories are, that's what I want to see. And when you throw 10 women out there and 1, 2, 3, at least 4 factions that were just kind of thrown in together, I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know who's together. I don't know if Sonya Deville is still with. I don't even know the names. It was just a mess. It was just a mess.
Yeah, just going back to. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Coach. Go.
Well, I was going to go to the next question. Let's go to Tara. She says, since you brought up Crown Jewel, I just have to say I think it's ridiculous that both male and female champions are facing each other and neither title is being defended. Tara, I think what they want to do is create, because I know that Vince signed a long deal, big money deal. And so they're calling it the Crown Jewel Championship, from what I gathered. And so they're going to have this Crown Jewel Championship, Tommy, whenever they go over there. Did you think the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's throwing the bone to all the money the Saudis are paying the WWE. And it's like, okay, now we have our own championship and we can have this every year.
Tommy, what have we learned from Vince Russo? We've learned that when you write, it has to make sense. Right. Okay. So I'm going to be as polite about this as I possibly can. There is not a universe that exists that if you throw Liv Morgan, who is 5'1" and $1.0, into the same ring with Nia Jax, that anybody, if somebody just landed from Mars and you turned on the TV or your iPad and you had those two in the ring together, would it make any sense that Liv would ever win? In a straight wrestling, in a straight match.
No, never happened. Not on your best day. Nope.
But that's what they're selling.
Yep.
That's what they're selling. So to me, it's got to be gimmick. It's got to be like a tag match. It's got to be something, but you got to make it realistic because it's supposed to be a real fight. It's supposed to be where real guys that are and ladies who are equals fight against each other. That's not a fair fight. The way they've done with Rhea, that it's entertaining. Yeah. That and I'll be honest with you, Tommy, I'm afraid she might hurt Liv, like accidentally hurt her. She's dangerous. A lot of girls don't want to work with her.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Jordan says, I think it's going to be more about Tiffany Stratton cashing in. Interesting. Tommy, what do you think about cashing in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, but the title's not up. It's for the Crown Jewel title. So,
right, but can't she cash in whenever she wants for the actual women's title?
Very true. That's a great point.
I think so. We got another one. Liv and Nia still have beef. Rich, I get that they have beef. I'm talking about they're advertising them for a one-on-one match. Champion versus champion. Men and women.
Right.
But how do you sell that? All right, another question, Tommy. DS, what do you think of the spear finishing move? I feel like it's overused by a few people in the past already, none of them as good as Goldberg's. Well, it just so happens, Tommy, we have one person sitting here who has taken Goldberg's spear multiple times. And I got to tell you that when I was in the ring with Goldberg, you remember the match? It was me and Mark Henry. And I was laughing, sitting up on the corner, and I was pointing at him and doing the whole thing. And then he grabbed me. I got to tell you, Tommy, it's scary. That man is a strong SOB.
Yeah.
And then he launches me across the ring. I get up, I turn around, spear into a big jackhammer slam. And then you feel all 4 of your limbs to see if they still work. And then you thank the good Lord Jesus Christ that they do. So, but to his point, Roman uses it as his finish with the Superman punch. So,
and Braun Breaker just what he did tonight, right? He laid out everybody. He speared everybody tonight. He speared Jay, Xavier. Kofi came in for the save, and he hammered Kofi too. I
Did you
like
feel
Braun,
like
dude. I'm a
I
big
love
fan of
Braun?
his. Oh,
He's shredded too. He looks like a badass. He
yes,
is a
he is.
badass.
That's a
But
bad
Tommy,
boy
I like the camera angle from up top when you knew he was coming
coming
around.
around.
But I felt like either he slipped on his knee or Xavier did because he did not give him a perfect spear. It was kind of more along the legs.
I don't think Xavier was positioned right. I think he was on his knee. When they
Okay.
had that high wide and he was coming around, you could see like he was on one knee or something like that.
So
From what I remember.
let's stay in that. That was the end of the segment that started with CM Punk. And if they're going to do segments like that, Tommy, I think I'm here for it. I mean, I like going from one thing to another thing. You had the CM Punk stare down, and then you had Jey Uso beat Xavier. You got Xavier fighting with Kofi. Then here comes Braun Breaker out of nowhere, takes down Jey. Kofi says, let's go help him. He gets back in. Xavier doesn't want any part of it. They knock Kofi down. He rolls out. Braun Breaker around, nails Xavier. Perfectly done. Perfectly done.
Yep, that was done. Done really well. Yep.
And Breaker looks like an absolute stud during that process. He's really
a beast.
does.
He's a beast, man.
How far do you think he can go, Tommy?
Oh, he can go to the top.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him champ right now than Gunther. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But I think
obvious
in 6 months,
they're gonna keep it. Yeah. You think Gunther stays champion till Royal Rumble?
You want to know what I really think? I think
What?
Gunther stays champion until WrestleMania and Cena faces him and Cena beats him. You don't think that can't happen?
No, I think it can happen. That's why I'm doing that.
It's way too long. But
Oh my god.
Cena
Nate G says most finishes are totally washed now. 1 million kickouts these days. I mean, there was a couple tonight, Tommy, that during that Sheamus match that were finishes. Xavier used the super kick on Jey, and Jey kicked out, but Jey uses that as his finish.
Yeah.
I don't think sometimes we think about that, do we?
No, you're right.
You know, he's using his finish, and then of course Sammy kicked out of everything until the sleeper in that main event. So DG, part of the cruise in the chat, he said, I think Sammy looked awesome tonight. DG, I hate to admit it, but you're right. He did look awesome tonight.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Did you see what I put on Twitter, Tommy?
No.
When Cody walked in, and Cody always looks like $1 million.
Yeah,
I said Cody looked like $1 million, while Sammy looked like $7. LOL. And then of course here comes all of the Rock's tweets from everybody. Yeah, the Rock. This, because his company's called $7. So
oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. So that was just kind of a play on words a little bit by me. But he does not I think his entire outfit probably costs $50, $40 if you're Sammy. And 40. Cody's are like $5,000 suits.
The guy's $1 million, dude. And if you think he's not getting that crown jewel championship, you got another thing coming.
By the way, Tommy, we got a little some breaking news. I want to tease ahead. Guess what we have coming that's dropping in the next day or two. What's that? Everybody watching right now, I want you guys to listen to me. So I did something the other day. So I tracked down the 2 people that made the ring gear for Cody at Bad Blood, the Street Profits at Bad Blood, and we're going to have like a 10 or 15-minute episode and actually talk about how it was made, what Cody wore and what the Street Profits wore. And we're going to have it right here on BTT. What do you think about that?
That's nasty, man. He got some beautiful gear, and the Street Profits gear is second to none. They put some money into that stuff, man.
Yep.
That's something nobody can miss. You got to see that, folks.
You got to see that. Put it into the chat. If you guys want to, we're expanding our content. We already have 3 or 4 shows, but we want to start doing what nobody else does. So we want to take you behind the scenes and show you the gear. Now, of course, we can't do it till after the show because that would ruin the whole surprise. But that's coming out either tomorrow or Wednesday, Tommy. And it's going to be pretty sick. It's going to be pretty sick.
I bet.
Yeah. Yep. Was Coach a good guy in the early 2000s? Tommy, that's probably a question from you from Big Cheesy. Was I a good guy in the early 2000s?
Do you mean on camera or off camera?
Let's go on camera. Like, full disclosure, me and Tommy have been best friends since 19. Well, I'd say we really became friends in 2000. I'd say
Yeah.
2000 when I moved to
Mhm.
Connecticut. But
Yep.
Tommy, just so you guys know, was the first adult, because I don't consider Todd Grisham an adult.
No.
The first adult to meet my daughter when she was first born.
That's
That's how
that's right.
long ago me and Tommy go back.
Yeah.
You were the first one, you and your wife.
I know. Yep, I
Yeah.
remember it. Now look at her driving a car.
We went last night, Tommy. I kid you not. We went and saw. We have season tickets to. There's a big theater out here that all the big tours come through, like big plays and musicals, like Hamilton's coming, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I went and saw Mrs. Doubtfire last night. Do you remember
Oh.
the movie Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep.
this was the musical Mrs. Doubtfire, and it was amazing. You're sitting there, and it's a story about a divorced couple, and the dad just wanted to spend time with his kids, and
Yeah.
and like I was like, is this like real life for me? It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting next to my daughter, and we go once a month. We have daughter date night, and oh my God, Tommy, it was amazing.
Yeah.
This guy could change between being the male and being the grandmother in like 15 seconds. It was amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was
Ah,
awesome. Yeah.
so back to the
Answer the
question,
question. Was I a good guy or a bad guy?
you were definitely a friggin' heel.
On screen and off screen.
And
There's no doubt about it.
no doubt. He talked more shit on a softball field than anybody, but he backed it up. So
I did.
no, he's a great guy. He's a great friend, but he's a great heel on camera. One of the best talking guys in the business, man. And Vince knew he had something back then too, and he used it to his full advantage.
Thank you, Tommy. Rich said coach is always a heel. It's a lot more fun to be a heel.
Oh
And
yeah,
I say it all the time. If you cannot talk, you cannot do this. You cannot be
right.
a talent. You cannot have a show. And it boggles my mind when people start a podcast, because there's literally like a million podcasts out there. And I hate
Oh
the
yeah,
word podcast. I prefer show or brand. We have
yeah,
4 shows. We don't have a podcast.
right.
But Tommy, people start a show that can't talk. And talent think they're going to get over that can't talk. And how are you supposed to get the fans? Like right now, all these incredible people that are watching right now, if you and I couldn't tell stories, would they tune in every Monday night? Of course not.
Nope.
Right? So why would you tune in to Monday Night Raw if you can't talk and you
That's
can't
right.
make people believe in what you're doing? I don't understand it. And I've met with so many talent over the years, and yet they work on their in-ring way more than they work on their promo skills. And that makes
Yeah,
no sense.
you take The Rock. He came out at Bad Blood, right? Didn't say a word,
Mhm.
did the 3-finger, did this, and then you saw the promo he cut afterwards, walking through the arena backstage. That promo was friggin' money. He told a great story. He was entertaining, funny. He worked with the workers, waiting, pounding everybody, shaking the guy, saying, "Hey man, I like your watch. If the final boss had a sister, I introduce you to." That's fucking entertaining, man. And telling the story. Dusty Rhodes, I love you, I hate your son, Fruity Pebbles, a drink with fucking Steve. That's all off his head, man. And then playing ZZ Top and drinking the Terramata. Damn, that's a promo, coach. That's a promo.
You either have it or you don't. And I've said it all the time. People ask me, because I was around The Rock so much. They said, Coach, what was The Rock like? What is The Rock like? And I said, he has it. Not everybody is built the same. Tom Brady has it. There's a reason not everybody's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The good Lord bless The Rock and guys like myself with great looks and great talent and great mic skills, Tommy. Not everybody, but I'll never forget the first time I ever met him. And I saw him walk through the door. I can fully admit this. I thought I was staring at Jesus Christ. The way people reacted to him, responded to him, and you got to understand, this is when he was just starting to go like this. He wasn't what he is today. He was becoming The Rock. 28 days a month on the road, he was. And he's part of how I learned how to be a heel. I probably will never go back. I like doing this a lot more, and I think we're going to explode this brand. But GST says that when Coach officially became a heel, it was the first and only time I actually sent an email to WWE to thank them for doing it. Interesting. Tommy, I was so nervous because the full story is this, so everybody understands. Tommy knows this. We have a gym over at the old tower now. That's shut down now, isn't it, Tommy? The old building.
They sold the building. Everything's
Okay.
sold.
Yeah. So if you ever got exit 9 in Stanford, you see the WWE building. You've seen it all over shows and everything. It's iconic. And I'm working out in there, and Vince was so pissed off because the week before they came up with this idea, I had shot an interview, and they wanted all of us to be smaller than the talent. So I had spread my legs, and it was a tag team interview. And the cameraman, I think it was Stewie, to be honest with you, Tom, and he snapped out of the interview too fast. And you still saw me with my legs spread, and it looked idiotic. It just looked stupid. And so Vince walked up to me in the gym, and he said, "Hey, Coach, hey, pal, we got an idea." And he said they wanted me to become a character, a heel. And he said, you can talk, you can make people hate you, and I think we can do a lot of different things. But I had to be willing to work in the ring and learn how to bump. We call it bumping. And so to GST's point, I was the first, and I think maybe, Tommy, to this day, the only full-time announcer that ever switched and became a heel character that wrestled matches. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yep.
But the first thing I did was chair shots to Shane McMahon in Phoenix at SummerSlam, 105-degree heat. Who books that, Tommy? Who books that?
No.
But
hey, pal.
It was, it's being a heel, and I think you described it great with Rock. And I think there's a lot of talent that wants to be a heel, but Tommy, it's so difficult because you have to make the crowd truly hate you. And if you try to do it, then they're not going to because they're going to look right through it. Right? Like, I think Xavier's struggling with that right now. I think Xavier wants to be a heel, but he's been this baby face that kids and the bootios and all of that. And I don't think the crowd truly buys in to him trying to be an asshole. Do you?
I totally agree. That's why I thought in the beginning, I thought Kofi was going to turn heel on him, which would be a big swerve, by the way, where we all thought it was Xavier, and it ends up being Kofi. I could see Kofi being a really badass heel. For some reason, I could see that in him more than X, because as you see X, the bootios, the video games, the shows he has on YouTube, it's just not believable. I'm not believing.
We know what he likes. Yeah, we know what the real Xavier is, and it's far from being a heel. From being a heel. Did you notice that? And I don't want to criticize because working matches is really, really hard. Did you notice that he forgot at the end of the match tonight? Did you notice that? Did anybody else in the chat? Write this in the chat if you guys noticed this. At the end of the match, when Xavier started to get up, and then he remembered, oh, wait a second, this is the end of the match, and then he laid back down and allowed Jey Uso to do. I love when Jey lays that stuff out and he looks around. I mean, he's always in the moment. But Tommy, I picked up on it. Didn't you pick up on it?
Yeah, I saw that too. Yep.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate it happens. I mean, these guys go 100 miles an hour, man, and it's tough remembering everything. So it's tough. It really is tough.
Yeah, I got to tell you, just to back up Xavier for a second, they had a lot of moving parts going on, and he also, with what came after that, Tommy, with the Braun Breaker stuff, and he had to be in the right spot. And when you have all that in your mind, it's nerve-wracking, especially when it's an opportunity that Triple H and the company is giving you to do this. So I think he was already thinking about that and forgot. That's what I truly believe. That's what I truly believe.
Yep.
I mean, I never forgot a spot, Tommy. I mean, my matches were flawless. Absolutely flawless. I mean, I think Dave Meltzer gave me a 5-star on every single one of my matches. I really think so. At least a 2.5. Yeah.
A 2.5. Yeah.
I mean, he was all over the dock. Why shouldn't he be all over? I mean, let's give him, props. They used him more than they used the talent in that damn documentary.
Dude, I'm on board with that.
Tara says, didn't Kofi start his career as a heel? Rich says, I had that same thought about Kofi turning heel in the future. Kofi tried a lot of things early on in his career. I worked with him in my room on the road. It's called the pre-tapes room. Tommy, he tried to get over a Jamaican character at one
I
point.
remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
I think everybody needs to understand watching at home that when you try to make it in this business, you get to a point where not only are you desperate, but the options that you have if you're not in the big company. And when Kofi broke in, they had one company. And they talked about that in the documentary, Tommy. There was no other options to make six figures up, like to make $100,000 or $200,000. There were no other options. So you start to get so desperate, Tommy, to try something that Vince would believe in. And I'm sure to this day it's still that way, because you're talking, if you get over, you can make $500,000, $1 million, $2 million. You can do that. But the alternative is sitting around not being used. Your contract's up. You get cut every May. That's the alternative. So you try anything, right?
That's right. You're absolutely right. And he tried anything and everything. So that's why I think he would be a better heel than Xavier.
I still think he had one of the greatest moments in WWE history when, and I was either we were there for Sports Center or I was back for that cup of coffee. But I was there the night that he won the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight. That was a moment. That was an absolute moment.
That was WrestleMania 35 at MetLife. That was my last WrestleMania because then COVID hit and then the shit hit the fan with the whole company. But that was my last WrestleMania. And I'll never forget
I was
it.
back. Yeah, I was back with you then. I was working for the company at that point.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was 35 at MetLife.
All right, quick update. My Kansas City Chiefs, after your Giants get it done yesterday in Seattle, they're up 23-13, 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. This is weird because we started an hour earlier, so now we can watch the end of Monday Night Football as we're doing the last word. A couple other things before we get out of here. We don't like you guys to stay for very long. We do about 30, 40 minutes. That's it. Hopefully you've watched the two parts of Maven. We still have Pete Gas coming out very soon. Tomorrow we are taping Chaz, who was part of the Headbangers, because this brand is about telling stories from 2000 and on, and we're going to try and get some legends as well. So we've already had DDP, so we've got a lot more interviews that are coming. For you premium members, we have the War Room every Friday around 11 a.m. Eastern as well. So become a premium member. We've got a lot more content coming there. Tommy, a couple of other things before we get out of here. The Miz and R-Truth. I feel like he's kind of dangling out there. Is Karrion Kross trying to become this
guru?
Guru? Is that what you said? Guru?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's something like a motivator. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do there. The
one thing I did like was R-Truth at the end looked serious. Like, oh, you want to match it with me? And he walked up and he just saw R-Truth's face. Like he wasn't the funny ha gaga, kind of guy, kind of saying stupid shit. He looked like he was pissed off and dead serious. So I hope I see that side of R-Truth. I know he's goofy and he's funny, but I want to see a serious side to this guy. After all, you are a WWE superstar. He's been in this business a zillion years, as we know. He's a pretty good worker in the ring. I want to see that side of him. I want to see a little serious side. So we'll see what happens next week. I'm interested to see what happens between him and Miz. Miz is going to be full-blown heel. He has to be. He's kind of stuck in flux with this company right now. So I think he needs to be a heel, try to move up in the company anyway. So we'll see.
What if they both do it? I think if they both take it serious and they both go, you know what? I need this dub. Give me a couple of interviews at the start of Raw next week. Take all the joking out. Take all the arrogant Miz stuff out and give me, you know what? I've been here 17 years. I've been here 18 years. And everybody is passing me by. Seth Rollins still doing his thing. I've got the Bloodline doing their thing. I got Cody doing his thing. But what about the Miz? What about the guy, Mr. Awesome? He's being passed by. That's what I want to hear from him next week.
Yeah.
And then you walk out there and you fight like a heel. If you don't know, there are certain ways you fight as a babyface, and there's certain ways you fight as a heel. As a heel, you can punch somebody right in the face. A babyface would never do that. They would never do that. Nope. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to let R-Truth fight next week. But I would love to see both fight as serious guys, realizing perhaps their futures, Tommy, are on the line.
Yep, I agree. Maybe they do a backstage interview with R-Truth, said, "This ain't funny ha-ha time for me, folks. This is R-Truth. He was my friend. Look what he did to me. And now it's all going to be done right in the ring right now." Something like that. Some promo like that where R-Truth is dead serious looking at the camera or looking at the person doing the interview and being dead serious and not being funny ha-ha guy. I would love to see that.
I would too. Nate G says, I'd pay money just to watch Miz and MJF have a promo off. I'm a big MJF fan.
Yeah,
I feel like he's kind of getting wasted over there, but we'll see. But Miz has been, and guys are different than girls. We cannot see each other for 5 years, 10 years, and all of a sudden it's like we've never missed a beat. And me and Miz are like that. We have a rich history. I love that guy so much.
Yep.
Tommy, before we get out of here, Bad Blood setting things up moving forward. You already mentioned The Rock and his promo afterwards. It blows my mind that there are fans out there that think that the Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes stuff by the bus was real. And I saw a lot of people think it's real. Tommy, are you kidding me right now?
I have no comment. I mean, come on. There's one thing in Bad Blood. I mean, who did Drew piss off? That's what I want to know. He lost clean. He lost clean to CM Punk.
Well, he lost clean in a pile of blood is what he lost.
I get that, but
I got raked, Tommy. I got raked because I was at that charity event, so I didn't comment on it. And people were like, Coach, you and Tommy just kill AEW for this kind of stuff. Where's your comments today? So I commented. I didn't like it. And I thought it was unnecessary.
Yep.
17 staples? Are you kidding me, Tommy?
Using a toolbox, which they've used a million times before. Come on, let's be more creative. Let's do other stuff. I saw Bubba Ray, Bully Ray on Sirius, and he said, look, do you want to be creative? Use part of the table. And everything he said was true. Like, they're using the same stuff over and over. And he didn't like it either. So we all can't be wrong, folks. But I don't know what's next for Drew. I don't know. I really don't.
Well, we know that CM Punk is going to be away for a while. He said that tonight on Monday Night Raw. And for Drew, I thought they buried him. I thought, as great as the match was and as hard as they worked, and also it screams, there's somebody in the background of TKO that has decided this is what we're going to do. And taking the cameras back and getting right up close on his head and showing those are actually staples.
Yeah.
Not stitches, staples. And then Tommy, the medical guy, says, oh, here's where you gigged yourself. We're really giving that away now? We're gonna tell them, yeah, this is where he took a razor blade and went like that, and we're gonna point it out on WWE socials. I couldn't believe it.
Dude, there were so many production issues with that show. It was unbelievable. They did Cody's entrance twice. They had that Fakakta College band playing who were way off and didn't get them off out of the ring fast enough. It was like, who's running the show here, man? Kevin Dunn must have been saying, what the fuck is this? They did Cody's entrance music twice.
What? You mean twice. They hit it twice?
They hit it twice. They held a high wide.
Did he come out, or did they hit it and then hit it again?
They hit it again. And then that Fakakta College band is playing, and they're way off tune trying to play the song to the song that's playing. And it was friggin' horrible. And then they're all standing there as Cody's in the ring and Solo in the ring, and nobody's getting these guys out of they're around the ring. The college band, nobody's getting them out of the way. I'm like, where's the stage managers? I don't get it, man. Whoever was running that.
Nate agrees. He said the band playing with Cody's music was so bad.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Rick said that band was awful.
Thank you.
This is what happens, Tommy. We know this. You bring, I call them amateurs, into the actual show. It usually doesn't work. Do you remember who's that little comedian we tried to bring into the show back in the day? He's in all Adam Sandler's movies. I had to work with him. Little tiny dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know who you're talking about.
Right? He was terrible. Yeah. Oh my God, was he bad? Yeah. So the band was bad. What did you make of? And this is something Vince always kept behind the curtain that apparently they're going to put out in front of the curtain now. So Vince has for many, many years given guys legends contracts. It's basically a way, because there's a lot of guys. Can you imagine the Iron Sheik walking into a bank and asking for a job? No, these guys can't work normal jobs at 50, 60, 65 years old. So he'll pay them 25, 50 grand. And basically when he calls, they show up. Well, apparently he's handing out, or they are handing out a ton now, Tommy. DDP said he signed one. Goldberg was there. Arn Anderson was there. Tully Blanchard was there. It was like old home week in Atlanta, and it seems like they're kind of feeding in to the legends and trying to make them feel welcome again.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, Vince Jr. took care of Vince Sr.'s guys, right? That were loyal to Vince Sr., all those guys. Chief J. Strongbow, Freddie Blassie, Gorilla Monsoon, which I want to talk about in a minute. And he was true to them from his father. When he bought the business, he brought those guys right along with him and gave them, guys like Rene Goulet were producers when I was just a PA back in the day. And seeing these guys and Chief J. Strongbow and Blackjack Lanza and all these guys that were kind of with the old man. And, Vince was very true. So I guess that's the way Triple H is thinking about it now. So he sees it happen. He's trying to be loyal too. So maybe that's the reason why it's happening.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Triple H, because there are a couple more topics, and I promise you we will get out of here. We're not going to stay very late, but we're actually an hour earlier. But Tommy, we want to do more here at BTT than just be a show that talks about wrestling. And one of the issues I've seen, and I'm sure you haven't noticed, but I am a black man, and there has been a lot of issues with diversity issues within the WWE, and Triple H stepped in it again in the post-fight press conference. He was asked by one of the journalists from probably, a dirt sheet about the diversity issue. And he said the one thing that as a white male, you cannot say in 2024, I do not see color. If you don't see color and you're running the WWE, the biggest entertainment company in the world that has a million different kinds of faces watching the product every single week, then that's a problem. And he said it, and he's getting raked for it, and he should. And when you look at all the people that have been given opportunities, for God's sake, Tommy, two of the superheroes, Jade and Bianca, are amazing, not being used at all. They were used as hosts at Bad Blood. And to me, diversity is an issue. They got rid of 3 great black talent. MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley. It's an issue, and I think Triple H stepped in it, and he hasn't even addressed. He probably won't, Tommy, moving forward, I would imagine.
You know what's funny about that, Coach?
Yeah.
You just said MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby. 2 have already showed up in AEW. It's MVP and Shelton Benjamin showed up last week. Probably Bobby Lashley is not far behind. Everything in their shows, Raw, SmackDown, are all rap and urban songs. Who came out again tonight? That Sexy Girl or whatever she was. So he's doing a lot of urban stuff, but he ain't pushing no urban guys. Carmelo Hayes is going to be a star. You can make Carmelo Hayes a friggin' star right now. The dude is badass. I watched him on SmackDown. I like him. I'm a huge fan of Montez Ford. I don't know what you do with Angelo Dawkins, but that doesn't hold back Montez Ford. They should break those guys up and make him a single. Trick Williams, the guy in NXT, another guy who reminds, Shawn Michaels said, reminds of Razor Ramon. You kidding me? Wow. When you say shit like that and you're Shawn Michaels, that's got to make Triple H go, damn, let's make a move on this.
But he's not. He's not. And Robbie in the chat just brought up a name I was going to bring up. Trick Williams. Trick is as entertaining as anybody they've got. I don't care what show you're on, but he's on a show that's on CW. Yep. And every time they bring somebody up from NXT, what happens, Tommy? Every time. They don't use them, and then they go to AEW. I mean, It's one after another, after another, after another. And Jordan even said, he goes, the 2 girls were barely even hosts. They weren't even showed at all. And from what I understand, they don't even get along, Tommy. They don't get along. And so,
really?
Yeah. So, and if you're Bianca Belair, she was main eventing WrestleMania or some of the biggest shows 4 years ago. What do you think she feels like right now?
Right.
And her man just left.
Yeah.
Her man's
Yep.
gone. It's an issue. Robbie says Trick's intro with the crowd chanting "Whoop, that Trick" is so good. His video, Tommy, I would love to see you in the video he just made about Pete Dunne, the Butch video. You would kill it. I could see you with the sunglasses on, Tommy. I can see you right next to Trick as he's collecting all the people walking down the street. Oh my God.
Meanwhile, we got Butch in a whatever that match was tonight with a shillelagh. Hey, Coach, one thing before we go.
Yeah.
And this is personal to me, so I just give me 2 minutes with it.
Yeah, give it to
yesterday was 25 years. We lost a really great guy. I started in 1988, and I met a lot of people, as you know, Coach. I met Mean Gene Okerlund. I met Bobby the Brain Heenan, but the one guy I met and I truly treasured for the rest of my life was Gorilla Monsoon. And yesterday was his 25-year anniversary that he passed away.
Wow.
And that man, you want to talk about the business, Coach? He knew everything about the business. Our car rides were second to none. As you know, when he was the president, I drove him everywhere. I knew him here back in the studio before he went back on the road. We were together then. Somebody on Twitter yesterday put up one of his last VOs. He used to come in and do our international VOs, and I was the one that was producing them. And that was just to get him. Kevin wanted to get him out of the house, just to get him in the studio before he went on the road to be the president and stuff like that. He was a great man. The biggest honor I ever had in my life is when we went to the wake and Maureen asked me and Kevin Dunn to be a pallbearer. You would have loved Gorilla Monsoon, Coach. A straight shooter, gambling man, had no less than $5,000 in his pocket, and was a gambler. He would bet 2 roaches climbing up on the wall, man.
Really?
But he was a great man. That's the point. A great man. Treated me like a son. He couldn't come to my wedding. He had us come to the Caesars for the weekend in Atlantic City. We stood in the high rollers room, and everything was comped for us. And he was there with me and my wife. Unbelievable man. 25 years. Rest in peace, Gorilla. And I love you, brother.
No, that's awesome, Tommy. Cheers to Gorilla Monsoon. There's a lot of great characters over the years, man. And I say it all the time, the moments and the relationships, I don't care about all the bullshit because there's a lot of bullshit. But, man, there are some of the most unbelievable characters and people that is part of the reason that we do this. And you can take 2 minutes to tell that story so people at home can understand the really good things about the business, because you spent over 32 years inside the WWE and you've got stories for days, and so does that man. And whether you're listening to him, because I got to know Mean Gene pretty well. I know those two guys were two of the just legendary drinkers. All of it, man.
Great stuff, man. Great people. Unbelievable, Coach.
We're gonna do an episode someday where we just tell, where you, not me, you just tell like 4 or 5 gorilla stories. We just got just like 10 minutes where you just tell 4 or 5 gorilla stories, and that would be great. We're gonna do that sometime.
The best short story I have.
Give it to me.
They were giving Vince an award at a hotel. We all had to go there, so I drove Gorilla there, and I'm sitting next to him. Macho Man and Liz are there, and Linda and Vince, and they're giving him this award. And they pulled Vince up, and he's crying. I'm like, I look at, and his name, well, I called him Gino. Everybody knew Gorilla, but everybody, I called him Gino. I said, Gino, is he crying? He goes, Tommy, are you kidding me? He goes, he pulls the nose hairs out, makes himself cry. He goes, you know when he cried? I was the last one to sell him the business. That's when Vince cried, he said.
That's hilarious. And probably true.
It's true. He didn't lie, dude. That dude never lied, man. He was guaranteed a job for life, and whatever his pay was, that's what he was guaranteed. And that's why they made him president near the end. And then he got sick. So
I've said this when I got there in 1999. I'm 20, whatever, 2. I mean, super young. And every time I would meet a legend, it was like good and bad. Like the first time I met Kamala, the Ugandan giant, when I was a child, I thought he was real. I thought he was really from Africa. And I walked into the locker room the first time, and he turns, he's putting his makeup on. He's like, "Hey, coach, what's going on?" I'm like, "No, you're the Ugandan giant. Pound your chest." But every time, and then Tommy, somebody just sent it to me the other day when I was, you remember we were at Madison Square Garden, and it was,
Yes.
I think it was WrestleMania, but I was in a pre-tape with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Mean Gene Okerlund, and they were in the boiler room with the two women.
Yeah.
Who was that? Mae
It was
Young,
Mae Young and Moolah.
and
Moolah.
Moolah. Oh my
Yeah.
God! They said, "Coach, you're gonna go," and they're gonna open it up, and those four. Tommy, that was probably the most fun 30, 40 minutes I've ever had in my career. Those four were a riot, and they were probably a combined 1,000 years old. I mean, it was incredible.
And they improv'd everything.
Oh, man. Oh.
Good stuff.
You know what? Rich said that's a good way to end each episode, telling Monsoon's story. You know what, Rich? We'll end every episode telling a story from the 90s or 2000s. That's what I'll do every last word. I think that's a great idea. Tommy, you didn't even know that you're starting something, but you just started something. All right. All right, tomorrow we've got Chaz. Don't forget, every Friday we drop something at 11 a.m. Eastern time. The best way to do it, just subscribe to our YouTube page, turn on your notifications, and every time we drop anything, we will have you notified. Also, we're going to be live every Monday night now at 10:10 p.m. Eastern time instead of 11:10 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you to the TV gods for that. All right, that's going to do it for now. For my man Danny Boy in the background, just making sure we stay on the air. Producer man on vacation. He'll be back next week. For Big Tommy C, I am the coach. Thanks for hanging out and making this possible for us. We love it so much. The last word, part of Behind the Turnbuckle. We'll see you later in the week. Take care.